fourth and final installment of the Lange Attack lecture series. And actually, we're not going to cover Max Lang technically, but a different variation that I wanted to cover that's very close to the Max Lang, which is the Koltanowski Gambit. After bishop takes d4 in this position, this is called the Koltanowski Gambit, not a Max Lang. Max Lang is when the e pawn takes the d pawn, and if the bishop takes the d pawn, then it's called the Koltanowski Gambit, also called the Deutz Gambit. But knight takes is just a bad move. Bishop takes is the main move in this variation here. Knight takes d4 and knight takes d4. Now we're gonna get into the move f4 here, and I actually found a game on the Lee Chess database for this, but I wanted to look at an alternative to f4 that white has that's pretty tricky move, and maybe it might not technically be as good as f4, but I think it's definitely got some practical upside to this move. Bishop g5 on move 7. And the thing about this move is that, so you're pinning the knight, and if this pin is ever broken, then you have some nasty traps that you can set. And I'll show you guys after h6 is played, for example. You don't want to trade this off because then the queen would just retake. So bishop h4, and now if g5 was played here, boom, you got f4. Weird looking move there. But the thing with this is that if they take the bishop here, you're just taking here, and now you can see both the knights are hit. The f file's open. This bishop is going to give us some pressure, and black's king is weaker than white's. So you can see how this could work to your advantage. Now, suppose they take on f4 instead here. Now what do we have here? Another nasty sacrifice. Rook takes f4. After e takes f4, queen takes on d4. And you can see that now there's some long-term pressure on f6. There's no real good way to defend f6. This knight's going to fall. So there's just some alternatives I wanted to show you guys to playing f4 right away. I mean, f4 is a move that you're going to play eventually in this variation anyway. It just might be trickier to play in the bishop g5 move order in some cases. But f4 here forces d6. d6 is forced. Otherwise, we're taking on e5. F takes e5, d takes e5. After this pawn trade, now you go bishop g5. This is the main way to play the Koltanowski Gambit. And queen e7 is one of the main lines. There's another main line here that starts with move bishop e6. And remember, that should always be answered by knight a3. Normally in these lines, the knight goes to a3. And queen e7, for example, was played in the game we're about to analyze. And knight a3 was played. And then after rook g8, the computer's actually giving me these as inaccurate moves, but knight a3 is the main line of this whole variation. Rook g8 is a very high level move, and it's dissuading white from ever taking on f6, because once he does, then black is going to get some counterplay against white's king on the g file. So king h1 was played in our game. I just wanted to mention, this is not actually the main way of playing this. Bishop e6 can be played. This is actually the main line of this, and I'll just show you guys real quick. c3, bishop takes c4, in between move here. And now another in-between move, taking on f6. So black played an in-between move instead of moving the knight, and then instead of retaking on c4, you take on f6. G takes, otherwise, you can't take with the queen here. So G takes, knight takes c4, and now knight e6 is played. I like the move. Knight e3 here. This is playable for both sides, and this is somewhat even. But yeah, this would have been fine also. So going back to the move that was in the game here, rook g8, king h1, and then bishop d7. I like king h1 because just getting out of the line of the g file and preparing to take on f6 again. And queen e1. So now the queen can swing out to here, possibly to the f2 square, knight e6, and now bishop comes back to e3. a6, queen a5, knight g4 was played. And now bishop g1, b6, rook ad1, knight h6. Little passive, looks a little passive. And then we have knight b5 here. b6 takes on c7, takes on c7, queen takes b6, queen b8, rook d8, d6, and then rook d8 was a mistake. Here, queen, according to this, queen b8, trying to trade queens would have been better, because now rook takes d7. And after king takes, rook d1 check. This is starting to look bad. And I'll show the rest of the game after rook d7. Ooh. Yeah. It looks a lot better for white. The engine's saying plus 7.3 right here. And yeah, his pawns are just climbing up the board, and yeah, this queen is real active. So black resigned in that position. I just want to review some different move orders. And just remember, they might play bishop c5 first. They might play knight c6 first. Come out to the same thing. And I also want to just briefly mention that after castling, knight f6 is not the only move here. You guys are going to see people play d6 here. And my recommendation is to go c3. And then, for example, if they go knight e6, d4, that's a line that leads to a slight advantage for white. If they go bishop g4, then I recommend meeting it with d4 first. For example, if they take here, now go queen b3, highlighting the weakness of black's last couple moves, because now you're hitting two targets at once. You're hitting this b pawn, you're hitting the f7 pawn. And whenever black would take the knight here, instead of retaking right away, you can answer that move with this. And this gets really messy and tactical, and the computer's not going to agree with all this, of course, but this is really fun to play. King moves, for example. You're going to take here. The main move here is, move knight f6. And now it's better not to take here and just simply go bishop c4 first. And this is going to be, this is still not clear at all of who's better and why, or what's going on. It's very messy and tactical, but I suggest you study that one on your own. So I just wanted to fill in some gaps and show you guys a game in the process, but that's about all I wanted to show with, you know, openings related to the Bishop's opening. Just wanted to show the Max Lange Koltanowski Gambit and a good line in the advanced variation of the Scotch Gambit. So thank you guys.